And U.S. President Barack Obama has received enough support to pass an Iran nuclear deal in the Senate. 34 Democratic senators say they'll vote for the agreement. Congress is expected to vote on the measures next month. All right, for more on that story, let's talk about this with Michael O'Hanlon, who joins us from Washington, D.C. He's a senior fellow at the Brookings Institute, who specializes in defense and foreign policy issues. Michael, good to have you with us. Now, over the past several weeks, we've heard quite vocal opposition to the deal, even from the president's own party. How was the administration able to swing the sentiment and overcome this?
Thanks for having me on. Well, I guess two different things that I would say are central. One is simple politics. This has become the president's signature foreign policy issue, certainly of 2015, maybe even of his whole second term. And for this to be voted down now would be a stark repudiation of the president's own vision, and in fact also a repudiation of what Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden both helped work on. And of course, as you know, one of them, and probably Hillary, is the likely Democratic nominee next year for the presidency. The other argument is probably about comparing this deal to all the reasonable alternatives. Not so much convincing people the deal is inherently great, not so much convincing people that Iran should have another $100 billion in its pocket, but rather recognizing that the sanctions were only possible in the pursuit of such a deal. Everyone agreed to the sanctions only to get this kind of a deal. And now that we've got the deal, it's not realistic to reimpose the sanctions, at least not the international sanctions. And moreover, the alternative to some kind of a deal is probably, in the end, the use of military force. So when you think about all the alternatives, they're even worse. Okay. I think those are essentially the two most important realities that have persuaded this 34 Democratic senator bloc to promise support for the president.
So what happens next?
Well, I suppose there's still a chance that we'll see votes. You know, Congress, I guess in theory, could do nothing, but more likely it will vote disapproval, and that will allow Republicans to say that that they stood up to the president and even brought some Democrats along in doing so. And then the president will receive a resolution of disapproval on his desk, and he will veto that like he would another type of law he might not like. And then Congress will have the opportunity to override the veto, which, as you probably know, in our system requires a 2/3 vote by both the Senate and the House. And that's when this group of 34 Democratic senators would be able to prevent an override of the veto. The Congress would still have expressed majority disapproval of the deal in both houses of Congress, but there would be enough Democratic senators to prevent Congress from overriding the veto, and therefore the deal would go into effect.
All right. Michael O'Hanlon, thank you for that analysis.